Hello, I'm Alex Davies, founder of Wealth Club. Today I'm with Mark Taylor, partner at Beringea and manager of Proven Legacy. Hello, Mark.
Morning, Alex.
First, can you just tell me about Beringea and a bit about your own background?
Yeah, of course. So Beringea is both in London and Michigan, USA, founded more than 25 years ago. We have over $700 million of funds under management, 17 investment professionals, and in the UK we manage 220 million sterling of funds through two VCTs, Proven VCT founded in 2000 and Proven Growth and Income founded in 2001. And between the two we have over 7,000 shareholders. About myself, I'm a chartered accountant. I qualified with Moore Stephens in the city, and then I was at Barclays and what was then called a merchant bank, Kleinwort Benson, where I set up Europe's first venture finance fund back in 1998. And then before Beringea moved to Clydesdale, part of National Australia Bank, and created their growth finance business. So over 30 years of lending experience.
And Proven Legacy, what is it and what does it do for investors?
So Proven Legacy actually was really set up following requests from some of our VCT shareholders. And it's designed to shelter inheritance tax through the well-established business property relief route by lending primarily to UK SME companies.
So for investors, just to explain that, if they invest in your company for at least 2 years and they hold those shares when they die, it should be inheritance tax free.
That's right, Alex. So by investing in Proven Legacy, which then lends money to UK companies, qualifies for BPR, it will shelter their inheritance tax liability.
So what do you actually invest in?
So we lend typically to UK SME companies. They are companies where we see an opportunity for security, where there's already a proven demand for the products or services of the business, and as of course always, where there's a strong management team.
So Mark, can you give me a few examples of loans you've made recently?
So the first loan we made from the fund was to a company called Soloxica, backed by Goldman Sachs and others. And Soloxica, actually, the technical term is they use field programmable gate arrays, but basically they are selling what's called a low latency solution to the banks, which means the banks, when they're trading with the stock exchange, can deal microseconds faster than they would do otherwise. And they're really selling to a lot of big US and European banks. Another transaction, Think, which was backed by the Proven VCTs, was one we did in October 17 for £500,000, is a digital media business based in Shoreditch, which we call Silicon Roundabout, of course, and that's just been sold to a California business as part of their global expansion strategy, sold actually the 1st of November.
So how many loans would an investor have exposure to?
So currently we have 5 companies, 4 complete and 1 that's in documentation at the moment. We've looked initially for quite small loans of $250,000 and $500,000 to create that spread, and the loans typically are repaying monthly or quarterly to keep a high level of liquidity in the company.
And it's a pretty small portfolio. Is that a problem?
Actually, typically the deal size that I've worked on has been in the 1 to 5 million space. But we found it very easy because companies in this environment find it very difficult going to their bank for small loans and would rather come to somebody like Proven. And so we've been able to write checks of $250,000 and $500,000 fairly easily.
And is it riskier though for the client if they, for example, if the person dies, is it going to be harder for them to get the money out? Are you quite illiquid?
Actually, no. We've deliberately kept liquidity high by the type of loans that we do, very short term, 2 and 3 years, possibly 4 years, with monthly repayments. So we always have cash coming back in. Of course, we have new cash from new investors as well. And actually, we've had a couple of redemptions already. One in particular is a lady who is emigrating to Australia and therefore didn't need to shelter her UK inheritance tax. And we've been able to deal with that within a matter of weeks.
So Mark, there's lots of different options for investors looking to shelter money from inheritance tax, renewable energy portfolios, etc. Why should someone invest in loans and with you specifically?
Well, I think firstly, Beringea have shown that they're very experienced as an investor, both in the VCTs and what we've created here. And the other thing that we've done with Proven Legacy is we've kept it very simple and transparent. So the investor buys shares in the company makes loans to UK companies, and all of that is very easy for people to see. In addition, we actually have 2 independent directors on our board. Jamie Perkins, as chairman, is a financial advisor from Westminster Wealth, and Robin Chamberlain, our other director, is a founder and partner of Progressive Strategic Solutions.
And why would you say invest in this rather than something like a renewable energy fund?
I think the thing that I've found is that actually lending to UK companies is a very simple and straightforward route. It's a very established process, and the sort of documents that you need to secure it are very straightforward.
And in terms of income, if I wanted an income, I know it's not necessarily the idea of it, can I get an income from this fund?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have 2 types of shares, growth shares and income shares. Interestingly, only about 15% have opted for income shares, but the income shares will pay out a dividend. The targeted minimum annual return is 3%, but we hope to achieve 5%. And in fact, based on the December results this year, we expect to pay a dividend in March.
A lot of people are put off by investing in these kinds of structures because they think it's going to be very risky. What are the risks and how risky is it?
Well, our experience over a number of years is that this can prove to be fairly secure. I mean, for the VCTs, for example, I was responsible for about £15 million of lending. 3 of those companies have already been sold and have generated very attractive returns for the VCT shareholders. A company called Piraeus, 1.2 million, which we did in 2015, sold in 2016. Specialty European Pharma, again in 2015 and sold in 16. And lastly, Linkdex, a company that we invested in late in 15, sold in 2016, which generated a 15% return. So for the VCTs, on average, we generated an 11% return on our lending.
And have you had examples of things where it's gone wrong?
Actually, not for the last decade. Always in business, there's a risk, of course, but I think in the way we select the companies that we lend to, they're very often companies that I will know or my partners at Beringea will know. And we certainly always meet the company, the management team, and at the business location. So the experience, I think, is if you invest in those businesses that you know and you stay close to them, then you reduce the risk significantly.
And if the company starts defaulting or looking as it's going to default, what do you do?
Well, looking back only to the previous decade, as I've got no experience of defaults in this decade, one of the things that you have is that you will have security in the form of a debenture or charge. So if there is an issue, you can start to control the business. Ultimately, you can appoint the administrator and make sure you sell the business for at least the value of your outstanding loan.
I'm not going to invest in one of these for myself. I would count myself too young. But if I was to sort of encourage my parents to do this, why should I invest with Beringea?
Yeah, well, I'd say again, actually, Beringea is obviously a very experienced manager and advisor over a number of years. And I think the way that we've set this business up is very, as I said, simple and transparent. The sorts of loans are very straightforward. We keep it very liquid. It's creating diversity now within that. And I think as part of a way of managing your wealth strategy, that something like business property relief fits in very well.
Mark Taylor of Beringea, Proven Legacy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.